All right, let's see if I remember how to do this. I think it's been like over a year since I've streamed, so gonna hold off on talking about anything quite yet. I see people in the chat finally. Let me know if you can hear me. Hopefully my audio is good. Like these are like my OBS settings that I haven't touched in like over a year, so I'm hoping they still work. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me okay. What's going on, everybody? I see Jason, Jorge, Ranuk, Mahir, Sahim, cool. I have an echo. How bad is the echo? Because my apartment is hardwood floors, as you can see behind me. So if it's just a minimal echo, that's just my environment. Nothing I can do about that. But while everybody's coming in, the topics we're going to talk about, as you can see on the right, we're going to talk about my WWDC wishes, but I also want to hear yours, right? It's only a couple weeks away. Like, what are you interested in seeing? What can't you wait for? We're going to talk about how I've kind of been reinvigorated in coding lately. Talk about that. Talk about my shift into these portfolio projects playlist, like with the tic-tac-toe video. Talk about that, and also want to get your input and some ideas on some projects you want to see. And then an update on my job application that I talked about in the what I'm working on. And then, excuse me, after all that, we'll do a walkthrough of Dub Grub. I'll pull up the simulator here. I got my scene ready to go. We'll walk through Dub Grub. I'll kind of showcase the app and talk about what I'm going to feature in the course that is releasing soon. And then, of course, your iOS dev, Q&A. Feel free to ask questions on iOS development, Swift, SwiftUI. Nothing like crazy specific, because like I'm probably not going to know a specific API bug fix right off the top of my head. So keep it to something I can answer off the top of my head, of course. But yeah, good to see everybody here. Like I said, I haven't streamed in a long time. A lot of people saying no echo, no echo. Cool. I also see Gabriel with the nice emote, or what do they call them? Emotes. It's been so long. So you get those emotes, by the way, by becoming a member of the channel. And that is kind of like a Twitch sub. You can click the membership like under the video if you're interested. I think it's like $4 a month. The only reason I have that is that's kind of like a support of last resort, because I get asked all the time, how can I support you? But maybe I'm past your courses. They're not interested in the courses, but they still want to support. Like that's just kind of like the last resort way to support me. And then you get those kind of like emotes they can use in the comment section. In case you're wondering what Gabriel's emote is there. Okay, so. Yeah, Jason, yes, I do have emotes. Jason's a longtime viewer back when I was streaming on Twitch. That's why I got those emotes. And his inside joke was he was always big on the emotes. I will kind of scroll back up through. So feel free to ask your questions now. And then once I get through my topics, I will kind of scroll back through and pick out some questions to ask for the Q&A section at the end. But for right now, we're going to go into WWDC like wishes, like what I would like to see. And feel free to like throw yours out there. I think it'll be interesting to kind of go back and forth on. But really my WWDC wishes are pretty simple. I don't have any I guess the one specific SwiftUI thing I would like to see is more like text field stuff. What I mean by that is like, you can do a lot with like text field and UI kit with the UI text field delegate, right? Where you can like watch like after every character is entered, you can like do stuff. You can do it in SwiftUI, but you gotta, UI view representable into the text field. So I would like to see some of that stuff like natively built into SwiftUI. That's like the only specific stuff I have. But overall, I just want to see SwiftUI like continue to grow and mature and continue like building its foundation. Like, yeah, it's nice. Like for example, last year, we got like MapKit and SpriteKit. It's nice to see those like, other APIs kind of get incorporated or frameworks get incorporated, but I would rather see the foundation being built, before we see more specialized like frameworks. It's kind of like where I'm at. But overall, yeah, just SwiftUI foundation. Get it very, very solid. Get it. I mean, it is kind of like production ready. I've been pretty much full-time SwiftUI for the past year. iOS 14 was a big step. I'm hoping iOS 15 is another step along those lines. So that's my main WWDC wish for SwiftUI. And then of course the Macs, I want a taste of the M1 life. I'm still on the old Intels. I have my 2020 MacBook Pro and then the 2017 iMac Pro. I'm holding off, even though like the new MacBooks on M1 are like just as powerful as this iMac Pro, which is awesome. But I can't wait to see what, the powerhouse M1s are. Like I think those are just going to be absurd. And that's kind of what I'm like holding out for. So hopefully we see that at WWDC, because it was clear at this recent iMac event, like that was like their consumer facing, not pro models. I want to see the pro models. catch up on chat here, see if anybody mentioned their wish list. Caleb, nice to see you. Swifty Tilting Planet. Greetings from the Philippines. Jeko, nice. Eugene, WWDC Wishes. Native unit testing framework to test SwiftUI. Be nice, even though my testing game still sucks. Combine integration with UIKit. I thought you could use Combine with UIKit. Again, I haven't dabbled into Combine either. And then improved navigation in SwiftUI. SwiftUI Wish refresh controller. I would like to see that as well. Do you feel it's a good time to start porting an older app to SwiftUI? I think that completely depends on your app. Because obviously if your app, like the UI behind your app is relatively straightforward, then yeah, I would port it over. If you have a lot of complex, crazy stuff going on, then maybe wait. So it's very dependent on like what your app, actually does. So those are my WWDC wishes. I'll kind of wait for yours to kind of roll in throughout the stream, and I'll kind of go back and catch up. But I also want to talk about how I've been like reinvigorated in coding lately. Because like the whole first quarter of 2021, I kind of took it off. Like I didn't really do much. And I was putting out videos here and there, but they were like a lot of the videos I do on like, here's a color picker in Swift, here's the date picker in SwiftUI, here's how a form in SwiftUI. Those are pretty basic. Those don't like really challenge me. However, those are like, I don't want to talk crap on those videos. I think those are necessary, right? Because if I want to get my videos out there for people to find, I need to have all those topics covered. So they're like a necessary evil. But my so I was kind of, I don't know if bored with coding. I don't know. The juices weren't flowing when it came to coding for the first like quarter of 2021. Kind of got a little reinvigorated the past couple weeks with some projects that I had going on, right? The first thing that kicked it off was the tic-tac-toe portfolio project I did, right? That was a very long, hour-plus long video. We got way more into the basics, right? All the logic of programming the AI. By the way, AI is just a generic term. I got some comments that said, is this really AI? People must have thought we were programming some crazy neural link thing. Like, no, like an AI is really just any like decision-making engine, which is basically what we built. Anyway, teaching that kind of stuff and kind of the solution I came up with, which wasn't groundbreaking or anything like that, but I think people that are just beginning, it was probably enlightening to see how you can solve problems, with the app and all that stuff. So building that and like making that video was like the first jolt of energy I got back into coding. And then that rolled right into, and we'll come back to the portfolio projects in a second. But I would love to hear some ideas and suggestions on what types of those videos, those hour-long plus tutorials, what topics you would like to see on that. But then the second thing that was like another jolt was this job take-home project that I did. And if you watch the recent What I'm Working On video, I think it's my most recent video, where I talked about I had to do a take-home project for a job application. I won't retell the whole story, but long story short, it was in the Ethereum smart contract space, which is like uncharted territory. There's like no, tutorials or anything out there. Like you got to dig into the source code and figure it out yourself. So I felt what I called like the give up, whereas like I almost gave up like 7 times, but I kept getting over that hurdle. And you may know when you're just learning like programming and stuff, getting over a hurdle, like if you've been stuck for hours and you finally get over it, it's like euphoric, right? Like that's what like brings you back to programming, is getting that feeling. So I got that feeling over and over again, and building that project in something that I was like super interested in was like super fun to me. So now here we are back to back. We had the tic-tac-toe, and then we had that take home project that like kind of really got me going. And then I went right into building Dub Grub app. So that was like 3 projects, like back to back to back, that like really got the juices flowing. So now I'm like all hyped up on coding again. Whereas, the past few months, I've been kind of like not that interested in it. And I don't know, I think that's interesting to discuss how you can kind of like ebb and flow in like your interest and your passion, your motivation for things. So where that kind of leads to is, and I laugh because like I've been talking about building Creator View forever now. So it's kind of like a meme at this point. Like, I'm just all talk. I'm never going to build it. It's kind of funny to me anyway. But it has me super pumped to like build it, because I'm kind of like, man, I just want to build stuff. Like I don't care about making videos about it or presenting it. Like I just want to build something cool. So hopefully this reinvigoration actually leads to me getting off my ass and doing something on Creator View. But yeah, we'll see. Before I move on, let me catch up on chat and see if there's anything. I guess I'll just kind of like inject Q&A randomly, so there's not just a ton at the end and people are still around for like their question to get answered. But yeah, before we move on to the next topic, let me catch up here. Shubham says, starting to apply for iOS internships. Any suggestions? Well, I've never been an intern, so I don't really have like experience there, but the blanket advice still applies. Like to me, hiring somebody, whether it's developer or an intern, show me what you can do. Like, at least this is just my opinion, by the way. You're going to get a ton of different opinions on how to hire. So don't take this as like the answer. But I don't care what school you went to. I don't care. Like, show me what you can do. That's why I'm big on like the portfolio. Like, let me play with an app you've built. Let me see, some source code on GitHub. Like, I think this industry is all about show me what you can do. So if you can build up a small portfolio, that would be my advice. But again, I've never done, maybe internships are different because they know you don't have a lot of work experience. So I don't know. Caleb says he's loving his M1 MacBook Air. Yeah, even the MacBook Air M1s are like ridiculously powerful. So like I said, I can't wait for the big boys to come out. WWDC Wishes from M7MD says Xcode on iPad. I don't care about this. I don't know. Maybe that's a controversial topic. I mean, I think it would be a cool toy. I know people are probably gonna take offense to that because they live on the iPad. But for me, I don't think I would ever use it. It may be like a convenience thing where like, oh crap, I got to make a quick small change. But I'm on the go. Let me pull up my iPad. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh on it, but I just think Xcode on iPad would just be a toy. I don't think I would do my serious development on it. I don't know. Maybe that's the popular opinion. Maybe that's not, but I'm just not, I don't care about it. If they do it, cool. I don't care. Oh crap, it just jumped all the way to the bottom. I hate when the chat does that sometimes. Okay, some more people for Xcode on iPad. How do you, Himanshu says, how do I apply for iOS developer jobs in foreign countries? I don't know. I've never applied for a job in a foreign country or never had to apply into the US as somebody from a foreign country. So I have no idea. Sorry, I can't be of some help from you there. Llama Dev says, maybe a new SpriteKit engine, somewhat like SwiftUI, adding a canvas and node system. I think, in complete opinion hunch, I think SpriteKit's going to just go away. We haven't seen anything like new coming out for SpriteKit. It doesn't seem like a ton of things are built on it. I don't foresee SpriteKit being a priority for Apple. Of course, what the hell do I know? That's just the way I view it. We haven't seen like when I first started learning iOS development back in like 2014, 2015, 2016, every WWDC we would get a what's new in SpriteKit, what's new in Scene Kit. Like you could tell they were putting effort into it. I don't think we've seen a what's new in SpriteKit in like 3 years. So at WWDCs. So I just don't know how much priority they're putting into it. So I don't know if we'll see that. Sorry, getting caught up on chat here. SwiftUI, Wasm says, SwiftUI is the future, ? I think that's clear as day. It's not the right now, but I think it's clear that, to me, I think it's clear that Apple's going to some unified, like, Apple OS, like not iOS, not Mac OS, not iPad OS, just some like Apple OS that's really like unified. It's where I think they're heading in like, 5 to 10 years. And I think SwiftUI, where, for example, a form on a SwiftUI, or when you write it in SwiftUI, it applies to whatever platform it's on, right? If it shows up on the watch, it knows that, hey, I'm a form, so I know how to show up on the watch. I just think we're going to see more and more of that. Wasm also says, when you will be available on Udemy. I've said this a bunch. I will never be on Udemy just because Udemy takes like, okay, let me give a big disclaimer on this. I haven't looked into Udemy in years. Maybe they've changed their pricing. I don't know. But they take like 50% of your course thing. And then they like often force it to go on sale to be like $10 and they're taking 50%. I just value my work a lot more than that. No offense to those that are on Udemy. I know the users like Udemy because it is like $10, but I just think the value that my courses provide is worth way more than $10. Like if you're trying to become an iOS developer and change your life, change your career, or improve your knowledge, and you only want to spend $10 on it, like I understand money is different throughout the world and $10 is a lot different in something like Turkey. Totally get that. So I understand the international element of it, but I just feel like, and I've, on that note, I have helped. Tons of people email me, and maybe I'll get a lot of emails after saying this, but I get emails from all over the world that say, hey, your course is kind of expensive due to the currency conversion, right? A lot of people in Turkey, because the Turkish lira is not doing great. So I give them like huge discounts because I totally know that like the US dollar to Americans is a lot different all over the world. So if you are in a different part of the country where the conversion rate is horrible, and you're interested in my courses, like email me. I'm happy to give you a nice discount to make up for that. But as far as me going on Udemy, again, they take 50% of your revenue and you have to sell them for like $10. Like it's not worth it. Alan Sue says, hey Sean, where them podcasts at? Yeah, I have too much on my plate. Basically, the podcast is now just the what I'm working on. That's pretty much the only thing I'm going to do. I stopped doing origin stories because it was a hassle trying to line up interviews and people's schedules, and I felt like I was having like the same conversation. I felt like the conversations got repetitive, at least to me, after I've done like 40 of them. So maybe I'll bring that back in the future, but I did need a break because it felt, I don't know, it wasn't as interesting to me anymore. Abincent says, I hope at least the Pro will have black bezels. There are rumors the new MacBook Air is going to have the new Mac design. Yeah, I hope the Pro versions are like the whole space. I mean, I've decked out my whole workspace in like space gray. So if I have to like put pink in here, like, it's gonna mess me up. Caleb says SpriteKit is still great. Yeah, Caleb, I worked at Aluna. We use it. So yeah, I think it's great. Maybe it doesn't need improvement, but like I said, I haven't seen Apple's improvements there. Yeah, Jason Mitchell. How about Swift data to replace update core data? So as you know, throughout the history, people may know I shouldn't say not a huge fan of core data. I just have never really had to use it. But from what I hear from a lot of people, they say it could really use like a new thing, like a Swift data, like a SwiftUI to UI kit, like a whole new way to do it that is like more like kind of a SwiftUI. But yeah, I would like to see kind of an overhaul of that. more Udemy questions. Scott Bennett says, how does an old guy get an intro Swift job? Well, I got my first, and I know old is relative. I didn't write my first line of code till I was 32. I got my first job, at 33. I'm not sure how old you are, Scott. I know you may think that's young. Other people think that's old. So like I said, it's relative. But I do think, and again, pure opinion here, if you are trying to change careers and you're older, in your 40s, 50s, I'd be willing to like take a pay cut. Meaning, I think a lot of times people try to switch jobs or switch careers and start from the beginning. Like you mentioned, it sounds like you're willing to take a junior job, but they don't want to like take the pay cut to get there. And I'm not saying you don't want to do that, but that is often a hurdle that a lot of older people that are advanced in their career, like they find it hard being some senior person in whatever career they spent 25 years in to now switch careers and go back to being a junior person. That hurdle seems to be difficult for some. But again, back to what I said about the internship. I know a lot of people think ageism exists, and I'm sure it does. All isms exist, of course. But again, back to when I'm hiring somebody, I don't care what school you went to, I don't care what you look like, I don't care how old you are, show me what you can do. If you show me a portfolio of great looking apps and I can play with those apps and they're high quality, that's all that matters to me. Like, and I think that's what all that, matters to a lot of people that are hiring. And again, all the isms exist. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I would work on, I say I'm a broken record, work on building that portfolio of small projects that are small apps that you can put in people's hands and they can play with, and you can show that you can build apps. Just show me what you can do. Sorry, I know that was repetitive, but that's really the answer. Nilesh says, UIKit app published on the App Store. Can it be rewritten in SwiftUI and published back to the App Store, or will it break on user side? I mean, it'll only break on the user side if you mess up the conversion. But yeah, you can have an existing app on the App Store, change it to SwiftUI, and it'll be the same app. Shadowblow says, Udemy is a cheap bucket of everything. Yeah, I don't know if you meant cheap as in like not high quality. I've never taken a Udemy course, so I don't want to speak to the quality. But when I decided to make courses, like I knew from the beginning that I wanted to differentiate myself from the Udemy crowd, because I felt like there's just tons of courses on Udemy. They're all $10. I wanted to differentiate myself. So hopefully I did. But, still working on that. Every course I get better, I think, anyway. Okay, we finally got to the bottom of the chat. I was just trying to catch up before we moved on to the next one. Nematha says, hi, Sean. I want to tell you that I feel your sincerity in all the videos you do. Thanks for teaching all of us. No problem. Yeah, and I've said this before. I guess that's the problem about being online, putting out videos. You've pretty much said everything before, so if this is repeating, sorry. But yeah, I think what I resonate with a certain demographic of people is because I came from the spot where, like I said, I didn't write my first line of code till I was 32. I did the whole career change thing. I wasn't like a childhood coding prodigy. I didn't go to school for computer science. I spent all my 20s not even thinking it could be possible to be a programmer. So I think because that was my journey, I think when I teach stuff and, my videos and talk about stuff, I talk about it from that perspective of somebody that like thought this was a completely unattainable skill all the way up until I was 31 years old. And then finally like tried it and was like, oh, this isn't so bad. So I always keep that in mind when I like teach and give my content. And I think that's why I resonate with that demographic of people. I think I probably don't resonate that much with the demographic of people that are the childhood prodigy. They've been coding since they were 12. They went to computer science, like maybe I don't resonate with them, but I think the people that took the same path that I did, I definitely think I resonate with. Alan Sue says, what did you think about what you said about origin stories makes sense. I always look forward to what I've been doing though. What have you been up to lately? Well, I just put out a what I'm working on video like last week with an update, and I'll put out another one after WWDC talking about, everything that was announced. And then because that'll also be after the launch of my course. And on that show, if you're not familiar with the What I'm Working On show, we talk about like business. So I share the numbers behind the business. I talk about, how my sponsorships, come about. I talk about, how courses are selling, that kind of stuff. So if you're curious how the launch of this Dub Grub course that we're going to talk about in a second went, that's where you'll find out. Increase the volume a little bit. All right. Just a little. So I can see like my audio levels, and I don't want them to be peaking. So like we're right on the edge of the red for peaking. So, okay, hopefully we're good there. Storyboard versus SwiftUI for beginners. So if I was a beginner today, well, here's the deal. Everybody asks the SwiftUI versus UIKit question. You're gonna have to know both. I know that sucks. You're just learning iOS development in a transitionary period. Like UIKit's not going away for a while. So that is the bad news. Everybody wants the clear-cut answer. There's none. That being said, if it was me, and I did this when Swift first came out, because that's when I learned iOS development. Like I was like, I'm saying screw Objective-C, because that's what they said in 2014. Oh, Objective-C is going to be around for years, and it is still around today. But Swift is clearly the future. The same thing is what they're saying about SwiftUI. And I would focus on SwiftUI and go for projects that are being built, mostly in SwiftUI. But if you do make that choice, you have to know that you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities because you don't know UIKit. You have to be cool with that. And I was cool with that back in the day when Swift came out. I was like, I'm going 100% Swift. I'm going to look for Swift-only projects. And I know that I'm going to just cut out a whole bunch of opportunities because I don't know Objective-C. That was just my strategy. It worked out. But at the end of the day, even if you do go all in on SwiftUI, and even if you go to a company that is writing SwiftUI, SwiftUI is not mature enough to avoid UIKit yet. You're going to have to know some UIKit. Jason says, I was in the exact same boat, getting the first dev job at 33-ish. A little pay cut at first, but it's already quickly made up for that. Yeah, that's the thing, like what Jason said. It's even if you do, I say this too, one of my favorite sayings, like sometimes you have to take 2 steps backwards to take 10 steps forwards. And a lot of people aren't willing to take those 2 steps backwards. And that's kind of what Jason talked about. He took a pay cut up front, but already more than made up for it. Mostly awesome. Been a while. So I guess you're not going to put your courses on sale again soon. Actually, good segue. I didn't pay you to say this. I do this every year. Every year. It's only been 1 year that I did this. But I put the courses on sale for WWDC. So if you've been waiting to buy a course, maybe this will hurt my sales in the near term, whatever. But during the WWDC holiday, all my courses go on sale. So if you've been waiting for a course, there you go. WWDCs, you'll see it. Well, the pre-sale for Dub Grub will happen in another week. I was going to launch it tomorrow, but thank you to my beta testers. If you're in here, I found some errors that like I want to fix and polish the app up more. So I'm going to delay the launch to May 24th of Dub Grub. That'll be on sale for the pre-sale. For those that don't know how the pre-sale works, is usually on launch day, I'll only have like 30% of the videos done. And then like every couple days, I drop a batch of like 5 videos until the course completes over the next couple weeks. But that's why you get the discounted price of 30% in the pre-sale. I mentioned that because a lot of times, I shouldn't say a lot. Every time I've launched the course, I've gotten 2 or 3 in the pre-sale that said, oh, the course isn't done, I want a refund. And like, I do my best to explain it in the course write-up, in the overview video that I put out, that, hey, I'm going to be, even on like the checkout screen and the confirmation screen, I say, only about 30% of it's done. You're going to see more videos in the coming weeks, but it never fails. A couple of people ask for a refund because the course isn't done. So That's why I do my best to say that. But that's how the pre-sale works. If you do want to wait a couple weeks till it's all done, fine. Some people want to get in there right away. Some people like being a part of the process because as people are watching those early first 30% of videos, like I'm getting a ton of feedback, and that feedback like informs a lot of the rest of the course. Like sometimes I'll add a whole new section based on the feedback on like the first stuff. So that's why I like to do it this way. But yeah, that will be coming soon. Clickbait King, you excited for Swift concurrency? No. I mean, I'm sure, no, that's not a knock on like, is it going to be cool? I'm sure it's going to be an improvement, but I've said this before too. Like I'm not like a language nerd when it comes to like Swift or computer science. Like to me, it's a means to an end. Like for example, I call it like a hammer. Like Swift, the language is the hammer that allows me to build the products that I want to build. I don't care how the hammer's made. I don't care what brand the hammer is. Like just give me the hammer and let me build. So when it comes to like language implementations, yes, they're important. Yes, they're valuable. Yes, I appreciate the people that are improving Swift. I do appreciate, the convenience of having a great language. But my point is my interest level is like, for example, I don't follow Swift Evolution where the conversation's going on about language features. Like, I'm just not interested in that stuff. Just tell me what the language is, how to use it, and I'm going to use it to build stuff. So I'm sure Swift concurrency is going to be awesome, but it's just not where my interests lie. Carlos says, I'm an Android developer learning iOS. What could be a good way to learn? So I don't know. I only know Swift and iOS, so I don't know what it's like coming from like another platform. If you know Kotlin, I'm sure there's some similarities. I definitely think you have a leg up on like somebody learning iOS and Swift like from scratch, because obviously you have mobile development and there are like common things between the two. But as far as like actual advice, I can't give you that. Wasm says, I would love to have a discount on your course SwiftUI fundamentals. So like I said, Wasm, if the conversion rate, just email me. I'm not going to put my email in here, but you can find it on the about page on my YouTube channel. Okay, I'm going to speed through the rest of chat to get caught up, and then I'm going to go back to my topic list. We're going to go back to portfolio projects, quick job update, and then I do want to make sure I get the Dub Grub walkthrough going, because that was kind of like the main reason. I know a lot of people are curious what that's about. Okay, so rapid fire time for the chat to get caught up. Okay, looks like cheer. A lot of people popping in. Cheers. Hello. Stanley says, "What's up, Sean? How's Carolina treating? Good. It's just starting to like come back alive. So like been here since July, and everybody asks how you liking the new city, and I'm like, I don't know, can't tell you. Everything's been shut down. You can't really do anything, but it's starting to come back alive, which is cool. So I'm excited for the summer." And if anybody is in Carolina, either watching this now or around the Charlotte area, I do plan on doing like an iOS developer meetup after WWDC sometime. So if you're in kind of the Carolina area, gonna do that, organize that soon in Charlotte. Okay, cool. Yes, Jason, I might make you a moderator. I appreciate that, Jason. Yes, I can scroll back up in the chat. Like don't spam the chat, please. Okay, cool. So let me get back to my topic list on portfolio projects. So this is a new series I'm starting, and it's probably only going to be like one of them a month, because that tic-tac-toe video like took a long time to build, and it's an hour and 20-minute video that's like fully edited. So that was like 2.5 hours of filming, 4 hours of editing, not to mention a few hours of like building probably a whole day to build that project. And now many may be saying, oh, it took you a whole day to build tic-tac-toe. But you got to remember, I'm not just building it. I'm building it and building like a curriculum in my mind, right? I can't just build hacky stuff. I have to build stuff that, one, is easy to understand. Two, is not teaching bad habits, bad practice. I'm sure my code's not perfect. I'm sure some of that slips in. But you get what I'm saying. I can't just hack together tic-tac-toe and then make a video on it. I have to like make sure I'm teaching the right stuff. So yes, it does take me longer to build all that, because not only that, I'm also thinking about, okay, how can I present this? How, what's the best way to teach this? So anyway, long story short is those are a ton of work to put together. So I do want to do about one of those a month, because I do think those are great content, to be honest with you. So if you have ideas for portfolio project, something like the tic-tac-toe. One idea I have is kind of like a basic SpriteKit app, just to teach you the basics of SpriteKit if you want to build on that. I already have Snake and SwiftUI built, well, about 80% of it built, and I'm kind of debating on if I should release that as a portfolio project just as is, or add some more stuff to it without giving anything away. And I want to experiment with like a mini course, like a course that is $10, $15. Because a lot of my courses, I am still like experimenting with like price points, how much content. So I'm thinking about running like a super mini course experiment. And if I'm just being honest, like we'll kind of shift into like the business side of this course stuff, right? Part of, like I love it when anybody takes just one of my courses, and here's why. Because I'm confident in the quality of my content, and I think it's, not 100%, but if somebody takes one of my courses, I think they're very likely to take another. Again, not 100%. So I think just getting people in the door, getting exposed to the world of Sean Allen courses will be good for the business like long term. And again, that's just me being confident in the products I put out. So that's why I want to experiment with like a little mini $10 course, just to kind of like give people a taste. So anyway, just some insights into why you may see like a $10 to $15 course, and that's why. So I might be saving this SwiftUI snake one for that, or I may just put it out as is. So anyway, if you have ideas for portfolio projects, let me know here. Okay, I'll do the job app update and then catch up on chat and then Dub Grub. So job app update is real quick. If you watch what I'm working on, did the take-home project, couldn't complete it. Again, it's working with Ethereum smart contracts, whole new world. It wasn't like the iOS stuff didn't hold me up. Dealing with Ethereum held me up. So I submitted the project. They came back, even though it wasn't like complete, and said, hey, give us the GitHub, let us review the code. We'll set up a call and give you a chance to present the project. And I'm pretty confident in my presenting skills and talking through where I struggled, what was good. So I think there's still hope there where I'm still waiting. I submitted that. I'm still waiting on the callback to see if I get a chance to present. Well, they said we'll present, but we haven't like lined up the call yet. And I'll give a quick 30-second overview on like what that was, because like I'm not in the job market. Just for those that didn't see my last video, what I'm working on, like I'm not actively looking for jobs. However, I saw a tweet on Twitter from somebody in the decentralized finance space, which is on like Ethereum, which I'm super fascinated by. Again, it's like software development and finance and economics, nails me. So anyway, I applied. It's a very popular project in the DeFi space, if you're familiar with that space, and couldn't resist. It's one of those opportunities. I was like, oh, I have to at least try. So that's kind of the backstory there. Just to be clear, I'm not actively looking for jobs. It's kind of one of those like great opportunities that popped up on my feed, and I gave it a shot. Okay, so before we walk you through Dub Grub, let me catch up on chat here. Hey Sean, Remy says, have you ever applied MVVM plus clean architecture? I don't even know what clean architecture is. Like just making clean code? That's the thing with all these architecture like acronyms and names. It's like there's so many of them. Like I don't even know. But yes, I do MVVM in SwiftUI, which I'm curious how this plays out. Like MVVM, I've seen people say, oh, MVVM and SwiftUI is a natural fit. I've also seen the opinion that says MVVM should be nowhere near SwiftUI. It's not great. And of course, now this gets into like programmer arguments, which is like, I try to stay out of those. But I'm curious how, as SwiftUI matures, what architecture will become like the default. Right now, I think a lot of people default to MVVM. But again, I've seen dissenting opinions, so we'll see. Talabra says, hey, Sean, I want to say a huge thank you. Got my first iOS job last week. Nice. The take-home course was a huge factor in me landing the job. Thank you. That's awesome to hear. Again, I built that project, or I designed that course specifically based on all my experience doing interviews all throughout Silicon Valley, like making sure I covered all the iOS stuff that was typically asked in a junior iOS developer interview. So happy to hear that actually worked out for you. So again, back to why I think my courses provide way more value than the $10 that Udemy would make me charge is like that. Tons of people have told me they've gotten a job and the course was a huge help towards it. So, you've gotten a developer job, most likely increase your salary by a lot. Like whether you paid the $90 sale price or the $150 full price, like so worth it in my opinion. So I try to price my courses based on like the value they provide, not kind of like what I think. Sean, do you have ADHD? You speak so fast. No, I do speak fast, but I don't know. Live streaming is weird because I see the chat. It's not ADHD. I feel bad that I feel bad if people came to spend their morning, afternoon, whatever, and then I don't even get to like acknowledge them or answer their questions. So the reason I speak fast in this is because I don't want, and I'm sure I've missed some chats, but like I feel bad if I miss a chat or miss somebody's question. So why am I speaking fast? Is because I'm trying to like get through it. And I know that's I probably should chill, but that's my mindset. I'm trying to make sure I get to like everybody's question here. Okay, so let me get on to Dub Grub here. Let me switch to, well, let me run the simulator, or run my Xcode simulator here. So for those that don't know, hold on, I'll pull it up on the screen here in a second. Okay, cool. So simulator, there we go. So for those that aren't aware or haven't even heard of the Dub Grub app or heard me talk about it, the whole purpose of this app is to basically, it's meant to go from SwiftUI fundamentals, which is teaching the very basics of Swift, and kind of be that next step. The next step into like building a more robust app. And this app isn't anything crazy, but it is more robust than the beginner apps we built in SwiftUI. So this is meant to be like kind of like a sequel, right? You did SwiftUI fundamentals. What next? Cool, here you go. So yes, we're going to build a quote unquote real app in SwiftUI. However, we do dabble in MapKit and CloudKit. Like a lot of people, I get asked all the time, like to do Firebase tutorials. I've never touched Firebase. Not that I have anything against it, but I don't know, I just don't have any experience with it. But CloudKit is essentially Apple's version of Firebase. So I want to say that because when I walk through the app here, it's going to look like it doesn't do a lot. But a lot of the learning and a lot of the education is built, or like building our schema in CloudKit, building out our backend, modeling everything. There's a lot of like under the hood learnings that don't show up when you just kind of click through the app. So I'm going to kind of walk through that and explain that a little bit. So here on the map, you see we have MapKit, obviously, right there. So the premise of the app, by the way, is you're at WWDC in person. Hopefully 2022, we can be there in person. And if you've been to WWDC, there's a bunch of like restaurants, bars all around. And it'd be nice to know like, hey, what other iOS developers at WWDC are at certain bars and places. And then that way you see a list of like, hey, Sean, Jason, Stanley, they're all at Chipotle. And then you can be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go to Chipotle, right? It's a way to kind of like check into places. But I know there's stuff like Foursquare and stuff like that, but like this is geared directly for Dub attendees, So the idea here is you have a map. It's centered around the San Jose Convention Center. And then all of these, there's more eateries, but I only did 8 just for the sake of time. But you can see we have custom like map pins here. You can, of course, do the normal map pin or the map balloon. But the great thing with SwiftUI and MapKit is it's just a SwiftUI view. So you can customize that view however you want. So in this course, we're going to talk about custom annotations like this kind of like teardrop shape. We actually draw that using SwiftUI shapes. It's not like an image or anything like that. And then, we add the image and then we have like the badge indicator, like on Chipotle, you see the 1, that means there's one person there. So like the person can click on Chipotle. Here you go. That's me checked in there. You can, dive into maps. We deep link into maps to get like, directions there. You can go to their website, click here to go to Chipotle website. You can call them. This doesn't work in the simulator because your phone's not hooked up. And then this is me like checking in and out, right? So I checked in, checked out. And then you would see a list of who's here. There's Sean, you can see there. So that's kind of the basic navigation there. And then, if you don't want this view, you can see all the locations like this. And then you can see like who's checked in where. So you can see a list of all the locations. And then you can imagine, 5 different faces. And then you can click in to see like who's all there, right? Now, this isn't like a final build. I got to do stuff like loading spinners. I'm going to do a whole design pass. This isn't like final yet. So that is the premise of that right there. And then profile, I'm going to redesign this profile screen. But again, most of the learning here is in the back end, dealing with CloudKit, creating records, updating records, deleting records, like all that kind of stuff. And then again, modeling your schema, all that. So that is basically what you're going to learn. Again, CloudKit, MapKit are a little bit of the focus. And then, of course, we do MVVM, SwiftUI, all that stuff, custom shapes, custom map annotations, user location. Like this little dot is the user's location. I'm obviously not at the San Jose Convention Center. In the simulator, I don't know if you knew, you can like put a custom location for the simulator. So yeah, so if you want the basics of MapKit and SwiftUI, core location, user location, if you want to learn CloudKit, how to set all that up, custom annotations. And then, obviously this is like just the basic table view stuff, but it is interesting. Like, how do you pull the list of people because this is getting queried all the time. Like, Sean's at Chipotle, but obviously that updates as people check in and check out. So that's an interesting like CloudKit query as well. And then of course, light and dark mode, that just kind of comes standard. But that is kind of the walkthrough. Happy to answer any questions. Like I said, I know the doesn't look like much on the surface, but like I said, a lot of the learning is under the hood there. So let me catch up on chat. Excuse me, sorry, throat clears. Bikash says, how do you deal with massive view controller in UIKit? I've seen many videos and take it on, but really want your tips and tricks on it. Just composition. Basically, the thing that I always think of, and I said this in my GitHub followers course, learned a good lesson there because we deal with that, is just, does your view controller need to know about this? I find that solves most of the problem. Meaning if you're doing any like calculations or UI configurations, or I don't know, just if you go line by line and think like, does my view controller need to know this? Like, does my UI need to know this? And you're gonna find that you can like abstract away a lot. And again, we discussed that in depth in the GitHub followers course. But yeah, that's kind of hard to answer on a live stream. The best way to answer that deal with massive view controller is to literally walk through a horrible view controller and do that. Maybe I should do that for a video. Take just a ridiculous view controller and refactor it and go through that whole, like, does my view controller need to know about this? Again, I think that one simple question will fix a lot of your problems. Not gonna fix all of them, but I think it'll fix a lot of them. A mini course on map messaging or MapKit would be dope. So I think the MapKit is obviously covered in Dub Grub, but messaging, that's interesting because one of the sponsors I'm talking to about a possible like video is a messaging SDK. So you might see that soon. Ivan says, why not Twitch? Missing you on Twitch. It's just, it got to be too much. I was trying to do too much, trying to spread too thin. That's why you don't see like podcasts. That's why you don't see too many live streams anymore, streaming on Twitch. It was fun, but like I was just spread too thin and I decided to just narrow my focus, like put out YouTube videos and build courses. Because to be honest with you, all the time I was spending on Twitch, there was no return on investment on that time. Just to be completely frank, again, I don't mind talking about my business. The courses is good business, that there's good money in those courses. So when it comes to the ROI on my time, it's better to focus on pumping out YouTube videos, that build the brand, build the content, that also direct to the courses, right? And that's how I make my living now. Like I don't have a job. Like if my courses don't sell, I don't pay the bills. So that's why like Twitch wasn't paying the bills, as fun as it was. So that's why I decided to just focus on videos and courses, pay the bills, and we're good. Murat says, hi Sean, is Dub Grub app using SwiftUI or UIKit? So Dub Grub is SwiftUI. And that's an interesting point because there's a lot of features that I wanted to do in this app, or maybe not features, but just UI improvements, polish, if you will. But I withheld from that because I want to minimize how much I drop down to UIKit. Because I want these it's kind of pointless to build a SwiftUI course if every view you're using UI view representable and dropping the UIKit. Well, just build the app in UIKit, So I'm trying to keep this course as much SwiftUI as possible. That because it's also, like I'm going to be updating this course because this course is coming out right before iOS 15. It's probably pretty dangerous. You never know what new SwiftUI stuff is coming, which I will update the course in October when iOS 15 is official. And I will kind of add the new iOS 15 SwiftUI stuff. So that's why I don't want to go down the UIKit integration rabbit hole because I'm going to be adding the new SwiftUI features as they come in. Mostly Awesome says, Dub Grub looks great. Thank you. I still got to do a design pass. Like I'm not sold on this color, this kind of like peach color for the map annotations. Like I liked it at first, especially on the dark mode, but the more I look at it, I don't know, the color just kind of like clashes to me. So that's what I said. I want to do a whole design pass on it. Like I want to make this screen. I clicked on my OBS and not my simulator trying to switch screens. That's awesome. I want to spruce up this screen a little bit. It looks kind of basic. And like I said, this profile, I think I'm going to do a complete redesign of this profile and maybe not even use a form. I don't know. So like I said, it is still in flux. That's why I am delaying it because I'm not, again, back to I want to put out quality. I want to put out stuff that like I'm like proud of and what I think people, if they take one course, they'll take a lot more courses, right? That's why I want to put out good products. So that's why I'm delaying the release of this a little bit, because I do want to make sure that, it's good. And again, a super thank you to, in the Slack channel that you get access to for my courses, I think I have like 20 beta testers in there that are currently beta testing Dub Grub to find issues, and they found a ton. So I was like, okay, I need to iron all this out and, push the release data back. And the reason, this is the first time I've done like a test flight beta for one of my courses. And the reason being is because like this app relies on other users using the app, right? Like when I'm just using my test user, I don't get to see like, what the app does really, or what the app looks like when actual users are using it. So that's why I went ahead and did that. Stanley says, I've been freelancing on Upwork for a few years. Interesting. Most requests are for messaging, payments, maps, or Bluetooth. Some ideas for minis. Nice. Thank you. I'm curious, Stanley, how is Upwork going? Because I feel like they're evolving. I feel like they're getting better. I messed around with Upwork back in like 2016, and it was rough. Like it was kind of like a race to the bottom for prices, meaning like development work for $10 an hour, which again, wherever you're at in the world, I understand money's different. But yeah, doing development work for $10 an hour is kind of rough. So I don't know. I didn't have a good experience with Upwork. So I'm curious what you see there. Jason says, did you use any UI kit in Dub Grub? Could be good to show how to integrate with UIV representable. That's what it's called, right? Yeah. So no, I didn't. I do the UIV representable. Well, I lied. You do use UIV representable on the, hold on, let me go back here. Because again, SwiftUI, back to like the basic stuff I would like to see, like SwiftUI, I'm going to pick the photo picker here, right? Like you can see all the screenshots I take, by the way. So this photo picker is in UIKit. So I guess that is like the only UIKit UIV representable. So we do get exposure to showing you how to use that, because you have to pass back whatever photo you selected, you got to pass it back. So you do get a little UIV representable exposure. But again, like even with MapKit, like with SwiftUI, yes, MapKit is there, but you can't do everything you can do in like UIKit MapKit. So I think that's what they're doing. I think every year you may see like little additions to SwiftUI MapKit that do bring in more functionality, but right now it's very, very basic. So to that point is I kept the MapKit stuff to that very, very basic what's in SwiftUI, because again, I felt like, why even make this a SwiftUI app? If the main focus, MapKit, I'm going to have to dive into UIKit. Like, why wouldn't I just build it in UIKit? So anyway, the hope is keep the basics for now, but this course is like a living, breathing thing. Like I can always add updates to it. I can add new stuff as iOS 15 comes out. So that was kind of the idea and the plan there. Abstinent says, have you ever thought about going back to college, university to get a degree in CS to further bolster your knowledge? No. Mainly because I don't think I lied. It has crossed my mind, but a very quick no on that one, because it's the opportunity cost of your time. I was able to get jobs as a developer. I was fine. Would the CS knowledge help me? Of course. Is it worth giving up 4 years of my life to go get that? Like again, the return on investment of those 4 years. Like no, I was already like a working developer. I didn't need those to like continue my job. Or like I said, it wasn't worth giving up 4 years of my life. That being said, I say if you are like a teenager or younger, early 20s, maybe now it is worth going to get that CS degree, because then you have your whole life to capitalize on that knowledge. Whereas me, I'm 40 now, like going back to get a CS degree now, like I do fine. I don't need it to get better jobs, if that makes sense. Again, it would absolutely improve my knowledge, but it's just not worth the 4 years. Just the way I think about it. Stanley, in response to Upwork, says feast or famine. Sometimes I have tons of work. That's kind of freelancing in general. Freelancing is a lot of, feast or famine. That's the way it was when I was contracting. There'd be times where I would be working 50 hours a week and turning down jobs. And then I would go through a month and a half span where I had no work, and no work means no paycheck. So that's the thing. If you do want to do the freelancing or contracting, like before you make that leap and like maybe quit a full-time job, I would make sure you have like 6 months to a year of your expenses saved up, because like Stanley is saying, and this is a common thing with all freelancers, it's very feast or famine. You're going to go through some times where you're not going to get paid for a month and a half. And if you can't like take that hit, with savings, you're probably in for a bad time. Bikash says, also, is SwiftUI fundamentals going to be updated to the latest SwiftUI? Yes, I'm going to keep those updated only with the stuff that's pertinent to what I taught. Meaning if basically if something got updated. Like if they introduce something brand new, I may not go, because like those projects in SwiftUI like are what they are. So I may not be able to inject a new SwiftUI thing into it. So basically I don't want the project to be like old and out of date, because like SwiftUI is also deprecating a lot of old stuff. Like even from iOS 13 to iOS 14, a lot of like modifiers, maybe the syntax changed. So like the one that I'm the worst at is the edges ignoring safe area. That got deprecated and switched to just ignore safe area, but I still use edges ignoring safe area just out of bad habit. So things like that, where they change the syntax and they're going to get deprecated, absolutely. But if they introduce some brand new weird thing, it depends on what it is if I go back and make videos for it. So no promises, but we'll see. Reed, what's going on, Reed? Says, hey, Sean, hope you've been well. Great to see you bringing back the streams. Yeah, I used to do these streams once a week, and then I started like answering the same questions over and over. It got repetitive, so I switched it to once a month, and then even that got repetitive, so I just stopped streaming. And this is the first stream in like over a year. And the reason I decided to do it was because I did a talk for like excuse me, Underdog devs. They asked me to do just like an AMA. Like I wasn't gonna like prepare a talk, but like, hey, just hop on and answer questions about content creation, being an indie iOS developer, that kind of stuff. So I did that, and it was kind of like this, like a live stream, except it was more curated. They kind of curated the questions and asked me, and it made me like, that's where I got the idea. I was like, man, I kind of want to do a live stream. Let me do that. So here we are. I don't think I'll probably do these once every 6 months or so. Like I don't think this will be a common thing, but yeah, it's fun to do every once in a while. Falhan says, how to manage freelancers code development and make sure I have the latest version of that, especially for adding more features and fixes, as well as after publishing. I'm not sure I understand that question. I should probably read these before I read them out loud. Yeah, I'm not sure, Falhan. I'm not sure if I understand that. Nigel says, do you think Apple will include an image picker this year? I hope so, but that's the example of the stuff, even though that is like very simple to do in UIKit or integrate UIKit, but that is an example of stuff that I would like to see. That and camera access. Like right now, if you want to build anything to do with the camera, you have to drop down to UIKit. That's not in SwiftUI. So yeah, I would like to see more stuff like that. But again, that's how I foresee SwiftUI going. I feel like we're just gonna little by little every year start getting stuff like that. But I think that might be a low priority, Nigel, just because it's relatively easy to do in UIKit. Dexter's Life says, which open source project junior developer will be able to contribute to improve coding practice? So I've never contributed to open source development, I don't think. If I did, it's not memorable. So I don't have any advice there, but I definitely think that is a good path to take. I just can't be the one to help you out. I have no experience with that. Should SwiftUI be open source in your opinion? I mean, of course, as a developer, I want to see it open source, right? Because I want to be able to look in there and see what's going on. Apple may have business reasons why it's not. I mean, they open source Swift like a year and a half after it was released. So we're already well past a year and a half into SwiftUI. So maybe they won't. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, of course, I would love to see it, but they may have reasons why not. Hey, Sean, when do you think SwiftUI will become the default choice for production apps? iOS 15. I think iOS 14 was a big jump, and most people support N-2 or N-1, I'm sorry, where, for example, right now iOS 14 is the latest, so they support iOS 13 and iOS 14. iOS 13 was pretty rocky. It was kind of like the beta SwiftUI. iOS 14 was a big step. I'm guessing, hoping, I bet iOS 15 will be another big step for that. And awesome, appreciate that. I don't know what that is in money terms, but definitely appreciate the super chat, Wasson. Thank you very much. And like I said, email me. We'll get you that discount on the course. Again, if you're just joining, I mentioned, I don't want to act like I'm just giving out discounts to anybody. I mentioned if you live in a country where the US dollar conversion isn't great, I'm happy to give discounts when it comes to that. That's kind of where that came from, just in case anybody just joined. But no, back to the question. I think now once iOS 15 is official and your N-1 support is now iOS 15 and iOS 14, I think you're going to see companies start making the change. So very, very soon to answer your question. David says, I'm a new iOS developer. Should I still learn UIKit? Yes. I did answer that before, David. I understand you probably just joined, so that's why I kept it quick. But yes, if you're learning Swift and iOS development now, it's it's not a bad time, but we're in a transitionary period. You're just going to have to learn both. You can focus on one more than the other. For example, if I was just learning, I would focus on SwiftUI Kit, but I don't think you can ignore UI Kit. Is UI Kit dying? No, UI Kit's going to be around for a very, very long time. So that's why I said you're going to have to know both eventually anyway. Tubologist says, a tip for new developers, if you want to be ahead of the hiring list, learn some testing and programmatic UI. Testing for sure. That'll impress people if you can really, really test your code. Programmatic UI is also another thing that's good, but that's kind of preference. And then in the SwiftUI world, everything's programmatic UI. So, it is what it is. Jason says, you should put a FAQ on your website and just link to all the usual questions. It's true. I've thought about doing that. Or even just like make a video answers or I don't know, something like that. Shrunkan says, big fan from India. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good to see you doing the live streams again, Sean. Thanks, Josh. Please look into your email. I will. I'm a little busy right now, awesome, but I'll do that. Shadow Blow says, hey, Sean, I can't get out from tutorial trap. I can't start. I figure out my own project. Can you advise me something? Yeah, this could be in the FAQ as well, Jason. Basically, build small. Like I think a lot of people think when they build their own project, they have to create the next Instagram or keep it small. It doesn't even have to go on the App Store, in my opinion. I always recommend building like small apps because here's why. Like if you're thinking you have to build some huge project, it seems daunting. You may start it, you may not finish. Now you're discouraged. Like it's a mental game. Whereas if you build like, for example, this app we just looked at, right? I will go back to it. Oh, that's the profile screen. Build a quick map app showing certain locations. Build a camera app. Build a to-do list. Like this is the whole reason I'm doing that portfolio projects series, the tic-tac-toe app, right? Build a bunch of these little small things, except now I know I just mentioned my tutorial series. Like don't follow the tutorial. Think like, I'm going to build tic-tac-toe. I'm not going to follow a tutorial to do it. I'm going to build tic-tac-toe and think it through. But the main idea here is keep it small and attainable. Because it's like I don't know if you ever heard like the snowball method of paying down debt, where you pay off your smallest credit card first. That's kind of what it is. Like you kind of like build the momentum, build these small projects, get that feeling of euphoria of being like, wow, I just built that. And then build something maybe a little bigger and then build up and build up. Slowly you build a portfolio, you're building up your confidence and you kind of build your way up to that big project. But again, I don't follow my tic-tac-toe tutorial. Try to build tic-tac-toe on your own. That's kind of what you do. Joash says, quick question. Have you tried MVP? I have not. Model View Presenter? Again, back to all these like acronyms. It's hard to keep track of what they all. Stanley, you're going to make me cry. Stanley says, when was the last time you played ball? Looking a little thin, Sean. Actually, I've put on COVID weight. I'm like 20 pounds heavier than I was back in San Francisco. And on that note, because I haven't played basketball since I left San Francisco. So that's a year and a half now. And that, well, obviously due to COVID, like you're not going to play basketball during COVID. But the Y, I live like a block away from a Y, and I think they're starting to open back up, like if you're vaccinated. So hopefully soon. But Stanley, I'm worried, man. I'm 40. I'm worried. I've seen so many Achilles tears, ACL tears from like older people trying to like play again. It scares the crap out of me. Not so much of the injury of getting hurt, but those are like 9-month recoveries where you're in like a cast for 9. Like it's scary. So I'm worried. I've played my last day of basketball, but I don't know. I'm going to give it a try, but that makes me sad. Will there be a new version or advanced evolution of SwiftUI this WWDC? Uno? Yeah, they're gonna continue progressing on SwiftUI. Who knows what we'll see? More SwiftUI. Are you guys trolling me now? Everybody's asking UIKit versus SwiftUI. Yeah, go back and watch. I've answered that. No offense. I know if you're just joining, no offense, but I've answered that question like 5 times by now. So Aiden's, okay, this is different though. Why is SwiftUI not using an industry? It's just early, new, not mature. A lot of developers, especially on like big projects with millions of users, rightfully so, like they are slow to adapt the latest and greatest technology, because very often the latest and greatest technology like comes and goes within a year or two, right? Like it happens. So they need to be very careful what they decide to adopt. So the big players in the app space probably won't adopt SwiftUI for 2 to 3 more years. And once it's mature and once it's like solidified itself that like, yeah, it's not going anywhere. It's kind of the same thing with Swift. It's like a lot of big apps didn't start switching over to Swift until Swift was 3 or 4 years old, and it was clear it was here to stay. So it's just, the big apps with millions and millions of users have to move slower. There's too much at risk. Whereas, the small startups or side projects, you can switch over pretty easily. All right, catching up here. Gijo says, hi, your tutorial helped me a lot in iOS development. Thanks. No problem. Appreciate it. Noman says, hi, Sean. Can you say hi to me again? What's up, Noman? Metal Nodic says, hi, Sean. Have your skills in UI design or secret? I don't know what that means. Part of the course, though, is if I pull the simulator back up, part of the course is I am going to go through my design process and like how I came up with this, how I did that, how I went from, sketching on the back of a piece of paper to, actually building some basic screens in Sketch to actually building them. And then even once they're built, like I've said before, like this app, I'm going to do not a complete design overhaul, but I am going to like put a coat of paint on it, so to speak, where I clean it up a little bit. So a lot of the design even happens, at least for me, like in development. And I think that's, right for like a lot of indie developers. Of course, major company, you have a designer, they give you a design spec. That's not the case here. But when you're building your own projects, oftentimes you're tweaking the design like all the time. Okay, so yes, but anyway, back to what I was saying was in the course, I do spend a couple videos talking about like my design process, walking through it, and hopefully that'll give some insights. Mihir says, do you plan to make a Combine tutorial? I still haven't touched Combine yet. So maybe someday, but there's a lot of people putting out good Combine content. Donnie Walls has a book. Mark Moykins is coming out with a book. So I feel like that space is covered. And yeah, I don't know. I haven't used Combine yet. So don't rule it out in the future, but it's not in the near future. David Akiga says, MVC and MVVM, which you use for production. SwiftUI use MVVM, UIKit, MVC. Hey, Jeremiah, what's up? I see you there. What's going on, J-Cube? The old Apex Legends crew is getting back together. Mostly awesome. J-Cube, Jason. I don't know if Jason's still here. Suni, say, what's up, Suni? Suni's one of the beta testers of the Dub Grub app. How did you get good at UI design? And I live in Canada, so how would I email you about price conversion discount through? Yeah, just hit me up through Slack. Even though I don't know if Canada's conversion is getting crushed. I just know there's some countries like Brazil, Turkey that their currency is just not doing great. So I'm not guaranteeing discounts for any foreign country. Your currency has to be getting crushed for me to give like the discounts. So again, just for clarification. Okay, Christian says, I applied for iOS job. Turns out they needed a React Native developer. I have a lot to thank SwiftUI for in terms of learning. Yeah, SwiftUI and React Native are very, very similar. Absent says, what do you miss most about SF? So that is, what I miss most about SF is just the talent around you. I don't know if that's going to go back to normal, even when COVID's gone, because so many people have left SF. But like, again, we would have just the example I give of the coffee meetup. Every Wednesday, we would do a coffee meetup in downtown San Francisco of iOS developers. You would get, Facebook developers, Instagram developers, like every major company, you'd have developers just chilling, grabbing coffee. Most of the time, not even talking about like development, just like building genuine like friendships and relationships, talking about other stuff. But just the fact that you can just go anywhere and meet up with all the like super talented developers at the biggest apps in the world, all in that little city. And I say little, San Francisco's a big city, but like geographically, it's very tight and compact, very small. So just being around all the talent is what I miss the most. And just the atmosphere, like everybody's building a startup. Everybody's trying to build something. It's just a very ambitious atmosphere. And when you kind of leave that atmosphere, you can't help but like, you're a product of your environment. So you kind of lose that ambition a little bit. But I remember I would always feel it. Like when I would go home to like my small town, Pennsylvania on like vacation, like Christmas for 2 weeks or something. And then I would go back to San Francisco. It was literally like a jolt of energy. Like it was just two vastly different like environments. So that's what I miss about it the most. Jeremiah says he uses SwiftUI in production, not completely, but in pieces. I think that's what everybody does, like not completely, but where it makes sense. I think that's what you're going to see probably for the next couple years here. Will Apple Car use Swift? Yeah, I think every new platform, whether it's Apple Car, AR, VR glasses, yeah, it's going to be SwiftUI. It's clearly the future. That's why I always say, everybody says like, well, nobody really says it anymore, but back in the day it was, should I learn React Native? Should I learn Swift? Should I learn PhoneGap or these cross-platform stuff? And excuse me, I would always say like, by learning Swift, native iOS development, you're attaching your career to Apple. Apple's not going to stay on the phone. They're going to AR, VR, cars. Like, if you love or hate Apple, they're not going anywhere. So I'm happy attaching my career to Apple, and whatever platform they come out with, if I know Swift and I know SwiftUI, I'm confident I'll be able to develop for that platform. Of course, there's going to be some learnings, of course, but you have the base skills. So that's why I, definitely recommend learning like native development. +1 for combined course. Yeah, that'll be a ways. Jason's still here. Hey, Steve, what's going on? Steve Bills. Looking forward to the new course. Yep. Coming next Monday, May 24th here. Again, well, David, I don't know if you've taken one of my courses before, you have access to the Slack channel, and that's kind of like my little course community. And I just put it out there if anybody wants to beta test the new Dub Grub app that has taken some of my courses, because they know kind of what to expect from one of my courses. So I got like 20 people in there beta testing it now. So, and again, I appreciate those taking the time to do that. Alan Sue says, is this iOS Coffee Meetup virtual right now? How do I get involved? I've been gone for a year and a half. And then during that year and a half, COVID happened. I don't know if they still do it. But I'm trying to think. Just telling you a name right now is not going to help you. I would have to probably like link you on Twitter. Alan, if you want to DM me on Twitter, I'll give you some Twitter handles to like reach out to see if they're still doing it. If you're in the San Francisco area. But again, so many people have left. I'm not sure if they're doing it. Yes, Suni, I did answer that question. Oh no, I don't think I did. How did I get good at UI design? Just going to a lot of design blogs like Dribble, Muesli, Medium Post, just like you learn iOS development, watch YouTube videos, like everything's just out there on the internet. So I would watch YouTube videos, be on Dribble a lot, and then you just kind of practice it. Like download something like Sketch or Figma or whatever. Take a UI from Dribble, D-R-I-B-B-B-L-E, 3 Bs. Find a good UI you like on Dribble and try to recreate that in Sketch. And then you just kind of practice it over time and get good at it. Scrolling down here. What are usually iOS dev job opportunities in the US? Can you say we're good here about money? Shadow, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Like pretty much any developer job in the US is going to pay, like you're going to be fine. You're probably going to be doing way better than the average if you're a professional developer in the US, most likely. So I'm not sure what you mean by like we're good here about money. Uno says, what are the limitations of cross-platform such as Flutter or React Native compared to native iOS? Basically, what can you only do on native but not cross-platform? So again, disclaimer, I've never used Flutter, never used React Native, never used them. So my opinion could be completely irrelevant. I don't care. But basically just like the latest and greatest stuff. Like if Apple releases something brand new, some new framework, like if you know native development, you can be on it right away. You can always build on the latest and greatest. Whereas if you're using that cross-platform stuff, you may have to wait for the framework to update. It's just, this is the way I've always been. Like I would always rather use first-party stuff than third-party stuff. That's just, I always default to that. Just my opinion there. Shixty says, how else would you know about the meetups if you're not in the corporate world? So, well, Twitter, I don't know if that counts as the corporate world, but Twitter is the way to network for developers. I've said it 1,000 times. Just get involved in the iOS developer community. You'll see like people retweeting meetups or tweeting about meetups and stuff like that. And you'll kind of just like slowly find them as you're like following people on Twitter. So Twitter's like how I find out about everything. Sean is really good at UI. I'm legit jealous. Thanks, Jeremiah. Shadow, that was the answer. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, Jeremiah, I'm not going to get on Apex tonight. Although I can be convinced. I have been itching to play a shooter. So I right now I'm like, so deep in getting this course out next week, and probably until after WWDC, I'm basically all course stuff. But Jeremiah, hit me up after that. I can be convinced. I actually reached out to Diggs a little bit ago to see if he was interested in jumping on. JD, what's going on? How's Chris doing out of Luna? Doing great. We actually just hired a senior developer to finally work with him at Aluna. So Aluna, they keep hiring people. Well, they just raised their Series A. Like they keep hiring people left and right. They're probably at like 25 people now, if I had to guess, 20 to 25. And when I was there, it was like 4. So, they're doing very, very good. Like I said, I can't predict the future. I would not be shocked at all as if they were acquired at some point in the future, and my Luna shares had a nice little payout. Wouldn't be surprised at that at all. They're doing good. Gulam says, can we expect some videos on unit and UI testing in the future? Probably, but probably like a ways down the road. Again, my unit testing game is probably one of the weakest parts of my overall skill set. I've fully admitted that. And the reason being is because I've spent my career at these early stage startups or independent developing or contracting, basically going from like, here's the idea, build the first version of it. So when you're building that MVP and you're iterating rapidly, like the tests, I don't want to say are a waste of time, but like if you're writing tests for everything and then they come back and say, no, change the screen, it needs to do this. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like you need to move so fast that you don't, like the tests aren't as important because things change so quickly. And again, in that scenario, of course, once you're mature, your app has millions of users, tests are vital. Like you have to have the tests. So that's why my testing game is not good, is because I've always lived in the world where you move so fast, things change so quickly that tests are like whatever. That's just kind of why I'm there. Hey, Harold, what's up? Good to see you, Harold. Hope you're doing awesome, bro. And I agree, it's good just to immerse yourself in the world of iOS engineering. Also super happy they found someone. Yeah, Harold, we... just to be blunt, we were disappointed that you slipped through our fingers. We drug our feet on that one, and yeah, that was our fault. But anyway, happy to hear you're doing well at the new place. But yeah, Harold was possibly with Luna. But anyway, hi sir, I have just started my iOS learning journey. Please suggest how I can go so far. Suraj. So I'll just kind of answer this generally. You can just, like Harold kind of just said, just immerse yourself in it. Podcasts, blog posts, YouTube videos, just practice building the small projects. You learn by doing. And again, back to the tutorial trap that was mentioned before. If you find yourself just following tutorials and you can't build an app by yourself, that's probably a problem. At a certain point, probably after a few months of doing tutorials, you should break away from doing tutorials and try to build your own thing. That's when you're really going to learn. When you can't just follow someone's recipe, you have to figure it out for yourself. You're going to hit a lot of roadblocks. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be hard, but that's where you like really learn and grow. So that's what I would definitely recommend. Shadowblow says, will this stream stay on your channel? Yeah, I do. The stream goes up, and I am going to wrap up in like 5-10 minutes, just as a heads up. So if you have any last minute questions, throw them in now. It's 1:12 p.m. now, probably go till 2 because I haven't eaten lunch yet and Chipotle is calling my name. Double steak bowl, that's what I go with. So yeah, I'll probably do a couple more minutes. So ask away if you have any questions and I'll run through them and we'll be done. But yes, Shadow, the stream will go up afterwards and I will timestamp it on like the major topics. The timestamps might be up a little later because I got to like rewatch it and like add the timestamps. Yeah, so. Uno Random says, I subscribed for a while. This is my first time actually seeing Sean live. Thanks for answering. No problem, Uno. Like I said, I haven't done a live stream in over a year. So it's not like you're missing me. I just don't really do these anymore. Yep, Death Samurai, yeah, it was a hard choice. Yep, I understand. Yeah, like I said, we drug our feet on that one. Can you teach us how to save data in Mobile Drive? I don't even know what Mobile Drive is. On the phone? Like, save it to the phone? Is that what you're saying? I'm not really sure. I'm sorry, catching up on some of these here that I can answer at the end here. Rumi says, server-side Swift future. So my last consulting project, the grocery app, was done in server-side Swift. It helps that we had Tim Condon there on the team, who is like kind of like real big into the server-side Swift world. But as an iOS developer, it was super convenient to work with because on the back end, Tim basically created all the models. Like, when you're building your app, you have to like create your model, and then from a normal network call, you have to like download the JSON, convert that JSON into your model that you created on the side. Well, our model was a Swift package and done on the back end. So I didn't have to create any models. Now that was good and bad because I didn't have to create any models. That was good. And you ensured everything was in sync. Where it was a little frustrating, especially Tim being like in the UK, so he time zone stuff, was like if I wanted to make a small little change to make some code I was writing easier to my model, I couldn't. right? Tim had to do it, and it had to like line up with the back end, which in hindsight is probably like a good kind of check to make sure, you know, the developer doesn't do all kinds of weird stuff. But at the same time, like sometimes I just needed to make a let a var, right? Hey, can we make this a var instead of a let, you know, so I can change it? But I had to wait like a day for Tim to get my message and then for him to like implement it and push it. So that would be the only downside. But I think the pros vastly outweigh the cons to where, you know, there's a lot of synergy when you have your backend in server-side Swift. Rumi says, hi, Sean, you are a great teacher I've ever found in YouTube. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, Jason, we're going to the San Jose Chipotle. That's the joke. So in this Dub Grub app, I'll go back to the simulator here. What I wanted to test was, I'll show you, like if I click on Chipotle, well, let me go back to the locations list here, right? So what I wanted to test was if there's like 8 people at Chipotle, you would see 4 faces, and then, you know, the 5th circle would say like +5 or whatever, however many people are there. So, and that's the kind of stuff I couldn't test with just like my 2 iCloud users. Because in order to test users with CloudKit, you actually have to have a real iCloud account, right? You can't just make fake ones. So that's why I beta tested it with, you know, some of the course users. And so the joke was, I was like, hey, everybody, let's meet at Chipotle so I can see what the, you know, 5 faces and then a +8 looks like, because I couldn't test that. So that's why. And Jason is still, in the beta version, Jason is still chilling at Chipotle. So that's the joke there. Stanley, any feelings on progressive web apps? Nope, I've never used them. I guess my general feeling would be that for, you know, if the app is super simple, it's probably fine. Obviously, as complexity increases, it's probably not fine to use that. That's kind of my thing on it. All right, I'm going to do a couple more and wrap up here. Rapid fire here. Suni says, I'm creating my indie app, and so when I'm done developing the first phase of it, would you mind making a video about it for ASO purposes? So I dug into ASO like a long time ago. I'm not, like 4 years ago. I'm not super up to date on the latest. So I would have to do some like ASO research, and I will be doing ASO research when I launch Creator View. There's the meme, because obviously I'll be working on it for my own app. So I think I probably wouldn't do stuff like that until I've actually launched my own app. Kari says, hey, Sean, do you provide consulting or advice to small businesses? Not like business advice, but like development advice, yeah. But I try not to do consulting because it's time consuming. Again, a previous what I'm working on where I discussed my business and how it did in 2020, I did a lot of consulting in 2020. And I said, in going forward, I want to drastically reduce the amount of consulting I do. Because the way I view consulting is, yes, it's good money, but to me, that's like a short-term outlook. Because I'm taking time away from building my business and my dreams to build somebody else's dreams. But yes, I'm getting paid for it, but I believe the business and dreams that I build for myself will be pretty big in the long run. Yet I keep stealing time from that business to build somebody else's business or help them with consulting. And it's basically like very short-term thinking, taking that money in the short term at the expense of building the business in the long term. So that's why I said I want to drastically reduce the amount of like consulting I do. Matthew Sunderland says, hey, Sean, currently work and live in Turkey. Do you think I have any chance of finding a job in Silicon Valley and move to California? Matthew, I don't know. I've never had to, get a job internationally into the US, so I can't speak to that. The only thing I can tell you is, like I said a couple times, like prove what you can do. If you have a portfolio of just sick, amazing apps, I think you'll probably have a good opportunity. If all you have is just a resume and says you went to school and you know it, it's probably tough. Like I said, I think this industry is show me what you can do. And you can easily do that by building apps. Stanley, appreciate the $5. Thanks for being you, bro. Appreciate that, man. Hey, Sean, you have a Discord server? If so, I highly recommend you create a community for us viewers in exchange for exchange iOS information. I do have a Slack channel that if you buy one of my courses, you get access to the Slack channel, partially because that way you can get help. If you have questions about the course, that community there helps each other out kind of stuff. But as far as like an open Discord server, it's another thing to manage. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to do 2 more questions and then that's it. Mostly awesome, always fun. Thanks for all you do. Appreciate that, Mostly. It's been a while, man. I'm serious. Like Jeremiah, if you're still here, Mostly, hit me up on the Apex after WWDC. Rumi says, your test flight YouTube tutorial helped me lots. Nice, appreciate that. Yeah, I knew that was going to be a big one because uploading the test flight is tricky and it's always kind of a pain. And the process changes like quite often actually. Maybe not completely changes, but like little screens here and there. Apple's like updating their UI a lot. All right. think we will wrap that up here. JD says, good luck going forward on your investing ventures. Have a good one. Appreciate it. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Appreciate you showing up, everybody. I guess I still have my simulator up. Didn't even realize that. Appreciate everybody hanging out. It was fun. Don't know when I'll do one of these again. It's been over a year, but who knows? If there's demand for it, I'll probably do it. It is fun to do every once in a while. So, all right.